Shanti. We say that there is beauty in silence. But silence is like the water that nurtures the seed. The seed of awareness, the seed of consciousness. And like the water that can clean and nurture, silence can nurture and clean the consciousness. So my vision can be more clear, more sharp. What is normally not visible, the waves of emotion, the subtle reactions to the reality. Everything becomes visible in silence. In silence, I can listen to just one single thought. And I can give power to that thought. Silence brings the mind into its quiet space. The mind never stops, but it can slow down. And silence enters the mind, like the water entering the soil, thirsty for water. As if the mind didn't realize the beauty of silence. It seeks peace. It searches for love. It begs for happiness. But silence brings everything on the golden tray. It shows me who I am. It tells me how strong I am. Silence awakens the giant within. Silence allows the mind to rest. And peace comes. Peace enters the mind. And peace is within. Entering the inner world. Making this inner world its own. The water is nurturing the seed of peace. And peace makes me stronger. The seed of awareness being watered expands. It becomes a living seed. So peace is in me. And as I absorb peace, and as much peace fulfills the needs of the mind, I become peace. I am peace. And I radiate peace. I am peace. And I radiate peace. I am peace. And I radiate peace. Hello, Shanti. Good evening. Welcome. It's good to see you all. Thank you for taking the time and the evening to be here. It's very lovely to give ourselves a time to unwind on Friday evenings. I think that's why they call that day Friday, right? Because you fry completely by the end of the week. You're totally fried and you just feel like you've been overboiled and overfried and put in the oil for the whole week, so they call it Friday. So I think I've seen all of you before. My name is Eric, and I was happy to propose a series of 3 sessions on the topic of relationships. And it's such a wonderful issue in our life. I think that relationship is designing our connection with everyone, the self, the world, and nature. Everything becomes relationship. And unless we just hide ourselves in a basement somewhere without cats, without dogs, then maybe there's no relationship. But even then, it will be a form of relationship. It will be a form of unrelationship with the world. So it's good to reflect on this topic of relationships. And it's a very rich subject, one that really also emphasizes the idea that it's very difficult to be happy alone. And it's even more difficult to be happy with others. I don't know if you agree, but just to maintain happiness, either being alone or with other people, it will take some kind of dancing and tiptoeing and have to compose. And we all know what relationships are all about most of the time. They go through a cycle, to have a phase of springtime when it is an explosion of love and wonders and hopes and beauties and, promises, isn't it? Springtime in love, and then it matures, and then we settle into it and we enjoy it, and we see the fruits of our relationships. And then suddenly, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, within that relationship, it seems like something starts to fall apart. And certain things we were hoping on, or that we were counting on, start to fall like leaves of the trees, and the fall starts. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it turns into a form of winter, and things freezes up, just get cold and suddenly uninviting and austere, dark. And then we say, well, we have to do something. So you either end up in a Raja Yoga meditation center at that point, or at the psychologist, or a therapist for couples, or, a spa somewhere, and then you put yourself in a bath and you wait until the bubbles make their impact on your mind. But sometimes within a long-term relationship, we go through many cycles, and it seems like there's ups and downs, periods when relationship is nice, periods when relationship is not nice, and sometimes it breaks. How many relationships have we maintained from birth? Hopefully parents, maybe, brothers, sisters. But how about friends? How many friends last the whole life? Just a few, not that many. So many people we encounter and they come and bring some joy in our life, and then suddenly they disappear. Oh, we disappear. And we enjoy someone, and then suddenly we don't enjoy them anymore, and we decide to leave. So relationships are like, highways and pathways, sightseeing roads in the country, tunnels in the kind of unknown territories on the ground. Each relationship is unique. Each relationship shows a part of who we are. We reveal ourselves in relationship. We see others in relationship, but we mostly reveal ourselves in relationships. We experience a whole variety of feelings through relationships. Can you experience as much love alone than you can with others? Is it? Where do you find love? Very spiritual people might find love all by themselves, sitting on a chair and meditating. That is possible. But usually in the world, most people look for love in relationships, isn't it? Not with a chair, and not with a cake, not with a carpet, but with people. Or with animals, nature, but mostly love with human beings. So certain things are really specific to relationships, and we nurture relationships to experience that love. And if we miss that love, then we start to be like someone who is missing a key ingredient in its functioning. If you don't have any vitamin C at all, do you know what happens? Have you ever tried a diet, no vitamin C? You can't eat almost anything anymore, but if you stop having vitamin C in your system, you'll become very weak. You'll crash if you really have no vitamin C. Hopefully we don't like this vitamin C a bit everywhere, but if you were to remove vitamin C, you'll be really not functioning at all. Those who are vegetarian, they know about the vitamin B12. Very specific. Never heard of B12 before being vegetarian. And when I turned vegetarian, everybody told me, pay attention, you need the B12. I said, yeah, what's the B12? And then you have to start looking for B12, apparently. I don't think I ever liked it. I think I must have had an accumulation from previous birth, so I was fine, It came with a special dose of B12 probably on my birth. And maybe my mother's milk was very high on B12 and it lasted for the whole life. But if you don't have B12, again, you have really specific symptoms. So these relationships are the same, which means that if something is missing in relationship, sooner or later, we're going to find ourselves dysfunctional, unable to communicate, unable to appreciate other people's presence, unable to adapt to situations and people, unable to tolerate, unable to be patient. So there are a lot of symptoms that will reveal themselves. And usually there are a lack of certain ingredients in relationships. So those relationships are not harmonious. And they start to really work on me. How many of you feel that you have very, very good relationships with everyone? Anyone has 100% good relationship with everyone? Okay, 99%. 99. Who has 99? 98. 80. Yeah? 80 is good. Our aim in Brahma Kumaris, do you know what it is? 95. That's true. I mean, one of our senior, Daddy Janki, one day told us that it's okay if you have 5% that don't work, because sometimes there's nothing you can do. Yeah. But it doesn't mean 5% of you is dysfunctional. You're 100% functional, but 5% of your relationships are not really working out. So is that a kind of a reasonable aim? Or should we start at 50 or 30? Where do we start? And again, we can argue what is a good relationship, because we may have ordinary relationships. Do we have benevolent relationships? Altruistic, sometimes, relationships? Do we have enriching relationships? Do we have empowering relationships, inspiring relationships? Relationships that help both to grow and to, prosper and to become more and more elevated in the awareness? Or do we have relationships that just nurture the ordinary? What did you eat yesterday? Oh, was it good? Yeah? How much did you pay? Yeah? Did it serve in plastic or paper? Yeah? This can be a long conversation about just a little plate of paper with a few, items on it. And some can have a long discussion about this. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm suggesting that maybe it is of a certain ordinary level. From time to time, it's good to do that. But if that's the main ingredient of my relationship with someone, well, maybe it's a food relationship after all. So even defining quality in relationship will be an issue in its own. Nurturing relationship on the long term would be some kind of issue. And then there's also the whole idea of looking at the relationships that don't work and deciding, am I interested in working on it, or do I prefer to just put them aside, avoid them, not get involved, or do I want to do something about it? So, do we have enough of 3 weeks or 3 sessions? Do you like the topic of relationships? I guess so, man, otherwise you wouldn't be here, unless you didn't know what was happening tonight. You didn't have a clue. Oh, that's the menu for the next.
I had a wonderful week. Relationships. I went to visit my brother and his wife in Florida, and I was never really close with him. And we just kind of stayed away for many years, met once in a while at my parents. 3 years ago, before my mom passed away, we just let it go. We didn't avoid it, we just let it go. Slowly found our way together, and I spent a week with them.
See?
People had asked me, even last year, are you going to go spend a week with them? I said, you're crazy.
Certainly not.
But we both grew in our own way, and yet together. And it was peaceful and beautiful.
And is it not wonderful when a relationship that was a little bit sore or a little bit, unhealthy or rough, when that becomes healthy again? How beautiful it is, right?
And he wouldn't let me cook or clean or pay for anything. And now I said, I can afford a lunch. He's like, I know what you did for my kids when I couldn't be there. Oh, he does know. I never expected to be validated, but the fact that he did, I was like, wow, we have both grown so much. And sometimes you think you grow, but you grow like this, but it's possible to get back on the same path.
See, so now we're talking about relationship for the next 3 weeks. Relationships that heal are the most fascinating transformation. One song that I like very, very much is a jazz song, and it says in it that when I'm with you, a rose will bloom in the snow. And I know I'm very French, so I like this kind of images. But I've always felt that, what an image, a rose will bloom in the snow. And to me, this is the image of a relationship, that no matter what, when you are with someone, you can make a rose bloom in the snow. It's a beautiful image. Search for it, Nina Simone. So the proposal I'd like to offer for tonight and the next 2 sessions is to look at relationships on 3 different ways. And the first one is quite obvious. I'm sure all of you who come here regularly will see me coming and you know what we would be doing. But the concept of relationship is always positioning myself with someone else. And the question is the way I am and the state in which I am, will it define the quality of the relationship? If I am, for example, a very anxious person, extremely scared, extremely insecure about myself, a little bit paranoid, probably enjoying the conspiracy theory in many ways, how many friends will I have? Probably not too many. And if I have some, they may be probably a bit like me. Because what I am is the starting point of a relationship. If I had to say in French we say if you're well in your skin. I don't know if it's a similar expression in English, but if you're comfortable in your skin, you interact very differently than if you're not well in your skin. So the first level of relationship I like to look at is the relationship we entertain with ourselves, the relationship we keep with ourselves. And I don't know for you, but I think for me this is probably the most difficult one. Relationship with others is almost tangible. It's almost, it has words and sounds and gestures and flowers, or how to say, sometimes you get the flowers, sometimes you get the vase that, comes with it, depending what the mood is. So relationship with other people is almost tangible. You can analyze it, you can see it, you feel it. But the relationship with the self usually is one that you look at in the office of a psychologist or a therapist, and they force you to think about what's happening within the self, isn't it? You can analyze a relationship with someone a little bit more easily than you can understand and appreciate and analyze what's going on between you and you, because this is a kind of bipolar, schizophrenic approach to who am I. Yes, am I expecting an answer from whom? Talking to the self can be nice, but it could be very dangerous. And if it's too much, people might be concerned about you talking to yourself a little bit too much. And you being too much in love with yourself could also be an issue. Narcissism and ego-centered views of the world, selfishness, they kind of connect with the relationship I entertain with myself. It's a relationship I entertain, the relationship I nurture. It's le mot français, entretien. It's different in English. There's one interesting theoretical element of information in Raj Yoga that we give in a course. And it's said that to know someone, you need to know 6 aspects of the person, 6 things about the person. Anyone remembers that in the course? Let's say if you want to really say, I know someone, you have to be able to answer 6 questions about the self, about the person. Very simple. One, you have to know really their name, basic. You have to know how they look like, their form. You need to know their address, where they live. So far, basic, right? What's the name? Who are they? Where are they? How do they look like? Where are they? Where do they live? Then you need to understand what's their activities. And skills. What do they do? What do they do? Then you need to know what's their qualities. And then finally, you need to define what's my relationship with them. And it sounds like very simple, but actually these are the 6 elements that we will use tonight and the next 2 sessions. And you'll find that it's not that obvious. So if we look at the self, you might say, well, do you know your name? And you might say yes, and I hope you know your name, but what would I be answering you? Is that the name of who? Whose name is that? Right? So when you were born, somebody decided that you would be named Michael or Julie something. Who do they give the name to? That's a simple question. But we say in Raj Yoga that actually this is the name of the body. Right? Because actually, if a name is masculine or feminine, is the soul masculine or feminine? So then the name applies to the body. We'll get Christian names, Hindu names, Muslim names, mostly based on religions and stories and religions. So we're given names actually, but they are names of the body. And where we're going to embark on a spiritual relationship with the self is when we rethink differently about those 6 questions. And so what will be the name of the soul? The deep question, isn't it? What's the name of the soul? Does your soul have a name? Does the soul has a name? Because basically in the technical approach, we believe that a human being is a combination of two things, the human body and a spiritual being. That's why we call it a human being. And so the being is spiritual and the human is physical. And the art of being spiritual is to connect both in a proper way. When people are what we say very materialistic, it means that they have ignored the soul, and they are very human, they're very bodily, they're just concerned about the needs of the body, matter, possessions, sensual pleasures, look and role of the body. So spiritual people tend to realign the focus on the soul, and they try to answer those riddles that are very, very ancient. Who am I? And even though you know your name, you know your weight, you know your height, you know the color of your eyes, you can give the whole description that people will look at when they want to define you. But you know very well at some point that this is absolutely not who I am. But we became that. So relationship with the self starts by redefining my name. That's why in spirituality people get spiritual names. We have, for example, our main director or spiritual head for many years. Her name is Dadi Prakash Mani. It's a beautiful name, but it applies not to the body. That was a name for the soul, which means the diamond of light, the jewel of light. So of course that refers to the soul, not to the body. We called Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi, right? So they wanted to say the great soul, Gandhi. That's what it means, Mahatma Gandhi. And we didn't say Mr. Gandhi, we just say Mahatma Gandhi. But that was applying a definition to the quality of the soul, recognizing that this is a great soul. So what about me? What kind of soul am I? So the name of the soul in Hindi is Atma, or they call it Atam. And Atam is like atom, so the atom for the physical world and the atom for the spiritual world. So it will change a lot when we start to think that I am a soul. And my name is, hi, I'm soul. Because soul doesn't really have a name. And so we say that when we want to know who I am, we say, well, I am a soul. And the definition of what kind of soul am I, that will become the interesting part. Because each soul will be different. So just on that level, if you say, okay, my name is not Eric, but my name is Soul, then the next tricky question is, well, what's your height? How much do you weigh? Are you blonde soul? Are you brown soul? Are you a blue-eye soul? Are you a big soul? Small soul? Which color are you? That would be the question. Do you know the answer to that? Have you seen the soul in the mirror? Have you ever show up in the bathroom and, oh, I see the soul today. Need to get a new mirror. This can help you. We have some mirrors. They have fixed image like this one. This is spiritual mirror. Image is fixed on it. You buy it with your picture on it, and it doesn't change. Because we say that the soul cannot be seen with the eyes, but the soul can be seen with a third eye, with understanding. It's the same way that if I were to tell you now that behind the wall there's a stove, would you believe me? Yeah, there's a kitchen. So behind the wall there's a stove, but you don't see it. But if I were to ask you to make a little effort and to imagine a stove behind it, right? Now, some psychics argue that with proper practice, you could even really see it as it is. And people do that. It's called, occult powers. People suddenly can see something that they have never seen before. Because the image of that stove, the exact stove which is behind this wall, that image has been seen by many people over the last many, many years. So some on quantum physics will argue that this picture of that stove is somewhere in the air. And if you disconnect from your physical eyes, you have access to a new library of pictures, and that picture is there. We're not doing that in meditation, but we're not paying attention to stoves and fridge, but to the soul. But the question would be, okay, if my name is soul, what is my form? How do I look like? Can you imagine someone who doesn't know how he looks like physically? Imagine raising someone, educating somebody. I mean, it's kind of a Walt Disney witch scenario, but you raise someone with no mirrors, no reflection, so the person can never know what's the physical appearance. That would be weird, huh? But I'd be curious for a very bad scientific experience to ask that person at 18 years old, okay, you've never seen this. Do you have any idea how you look like? It would be very strange. I don't know why I'm thinking like this. It's a Frankenstein story. But what about us? If we say, okay, I have a soul, but we've never seen it. Or if I say I'm a soul, but I don't know what I'm looking at, it will be the same as not knowing how we look like. But you know, that effect happens. I don't know about you, but when you see yourself on a picture, you know, it's always sometimes strange to see our own picture, or even on a video it's worst. And they think, oh my goodness, I really look like that. Have you ever had that reaction? I don't know, my mouth is always crooked like this. Yeah, we have a little, how do you say in English, a tic. A tic, it's a little habit, or a little tic, a little habit. Some people, we don't know we have that. One day somebody told me, why do you always caress this this thing? I said, what do you mean? This whole evening you're like this, you know? I said, am I doing this? I said, I'm not doing this. And then every time I sit here, I see myself doing this. I said, stop it, Eric. You don't know what you're doing. We don't know how we look. We don't know what to do. One day my sister told me, you know, in Quebec it's so funny because you say la after every sentence. And I said, that's true, Quebecers, to say that, you know. How are you, la? You know, I went la, you know, la, 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 la. And I told her, yeah, that's true, Quebecers always say that. And she said, what I was meaning was, you say that all the time. And I said, no, I don't. I don't speak like that. She said, yes, you do. I said, no, no way. And I started listening to myself speaking, and I realized I was adding a la after every sentence. Oh my goodness, this is, I've turned Quebecer. Can I have my diploma, my green, yellow, pink card, whatever they are. I'm a Quebecer. I say la at every sentence. So there are many things about the self which we don't know at all. But people can see it. Little habits, little thing like this. You know, you don't see your eyes the way they are. You don't know if they are blinking at the same time, or if one blinks before the other, or, you know, you don't see yourself all the time. Unless you're being filmed and you look at it and say, oh, look what I'm doing. And the last, but, you know, worst case scenario is when you're seeing pictures from you from the back. Because that's hard to see. Usually in a mirror, you don't see your back. And so when somebody takes a picture and say, "Is this me?" And then you look at your back for the first time and say, "Oh, I didn't know I thought I was like this, but I'm like that." I was hoping I was like that. Just kidding, okay? So what's the form of the soul? If I know myself, I know my name, I know my form. You see, so obvious on a physical level to introduce ourselves. I'm Eric, you know, I'm like this, can describe. If you describe somebody, you say, yeah, you know, he's a tall guy, you know, with curly hair, and easy to describe. How do you describe a soul? It's not the same. So a relationship with the self will challenge, what self am I in relationship with? Am I just in relationship with my external self? Do I only know my role in the theater and I don't know who is the actor? So the soul, as we see it in meditation, is just a being of light. It's a point of light. It's a spark of light. It's beautiful. And in meditation, it's like sitting in front of a spiritual mirror. And we say to ourselves, I'm a soul. And then we start to see in the center of the forehead that little shining star, which is very attractive, very beautiful. And then we realize why, a long time ago, those who really were seeking truth with intensity represented divinities with a little dot in the forehead, or in Christianity, an aura of light around the head. It comes from somewhere. It's not just a Picasso-style, painting that they thought about thousands of years ago. Every culture, everywhere in the world, they gave importance to this spot here. They know. Can't remember what it is, but they know there's something. And we lost the soul. We forgot about the soul. So we only became so body conscious that we're only seeing the body. Did you see Mr. Such, Mrs. Such? The blonde girl over there, and the tall guy over there. And that's the way we talk about people. So we've become very body conscious. And spirituality is invoking soul consciousness. I'm a soul, and my name is soul. Then my form. It's a beautiful being of light. So then the next tricky question, where does that soul live? Do you know what's the address of the soul? Where does the soul live? It's an easy question. See, now we are stuck. Huh?
In his body.
In the body, of course. This is my temporary address. So I'm a temporary, I have this body on loan, as we say, and we're using this body for a temporary period. So it's not my permanent address. I'm just using it at the moment. And you renew your lease every year. It's called a birthday, right? That's what they call a birthday. It's just like, it doesn't happen 1st of July for everybody. Everybody can have their own date. Me, my birthday on the physical level is 2nd of July, so it's the day after. But birthdays, you renew your lease. You just say, oh, thank you. That was a good year. Let's do it another year. So you just renew your lease for 1 year. I, the soul, I'm sparkling, beautiful star, but I need the body to live in. Because if I don't have a body, I cannot talk. I cannot see, I cannot hear, I cannot do anything. Without a body, I'm just like a CD on the table. Useless, nice, but no sound, nothing will come out of it. So the soul sits in the body, and it is living in a physical body. So my address is here. But it's a temporary address. So the permanent address is where do I come from? Which is exactly like what everybody must be asking you so many times, most of you. What do they ask? Where are you from? What nationality are you on? Isn't it? Even me, they keep asking me where I'm from, because in particular in summer, I really wonder. Every week it gets darker, so they really wonder. I'm from Morocco in June, and Sri Lanka in August. So people ask, where are you from originally? And they say, I'm from Quebec. No, but really? No, I'm from Quebec. Yeah, but something there. So in the same way, they say the soul, okay, I'm in the body. But then you would say, well, yeah, okay, you're in this body now, but before, where do you come from? And this is where in Raj Yoga we have an interesting concept that the soul comes from the soul world, which is a space, non-physical space. It's actually an area of consciousness. When the soul is not connected to the body, it cannot see, cannot hear, it cannot touch. The senses are off. But the soul connects with the inner world, the world of light. So the soul is only light in the world of light. We call it the soul world. In Buddhism, in Hinduism, they call it nirvana, the nirvana, heavens. In Christianity, sometimes they say in the heavens. paradise is different. So different words, every culture and religion have referred to a world. Some things that will really come from the space, they think, oh, well, somewhere over there. And so it changes completely just on those three first questions. My name, my phone, my address. So then if we go into the qualities, my role, and the relationship I maintain with myself or nurture with myself, it's very deep. Because the qualities of the soul, are they the same as the qualities of the personality? See, today I may be an angry person, always angry, always upset, always annoyed. But we will argue, is that the personality of the bodily being? Or is it really the personality of the soul? And it's actually a mixture. It's like water and earth becomes muddy. So soul, losing its identity with the body, starts to create a muddy personality. Unease, anger, greed, attachment, ego, jealousy, impatience. What are these? They're sufferings. Signs of suffer. If you're unhappy, if you're suffering, you're getting angry. If you're happy, you're not angry, is it? No? If you're really happy, you don't get angry. But if you're unhappy, if you're deprived from, that inner self, that inner wealth, then we're very uncomfortable, and then we get agitated, and we don't know what happens. And it's like, but I don't know your car, but mine is getting really, really old now. And every time it does a new thing, I'm like, oh, what's happening now? And recently, do we say it in English? Yeah, or she. In French, it's a she, but my car, she coughs in the morning. That's a new thing. She's really getting old. So when I start, every time I go, she's coughing for a while. And I thought, poor little old one, So yeah, keep going. So I'm trying not to push too much. It lasts about 10-15 minutes, and after that she's okay. But first 15 minutes now she's coughing. It's kind of age issue. And but the association of the soul with the body, will be like that when the soul is not getting what it's supposed to receive, it starts to suffer. And that suffer will manifest into this kind of spiritual coughing, anger, impatience, greed, insecurity, meanfulness, some people who become mean. It's because the soul is sick, the soul is diseased, it's not at ease. It's sick, it's kind of becoming affected because the body has taken over and the soul has lost its identity. That's a consequence. They work together. Physical disease have two kinds. One is that matter as its own system. So matter is matter, and it gets old and it's not perfect, so it has some kind of issues on its own, just like that. But also, they say sometimes, a big chunk of our disease are self-designed. They are a way for the soul to experience the suffering that it has created itself through the body. We do things through the body. It's a big topic, karmic accounts, but it's like whatever you do through your body comes back to you. If I keep drinking bad things in an excessive way for years, naturally the body at some point will say, okay, it's my turn now to make you suffer. You've made me suffer for so many years, I'm going to make you suffer now, because that's the law. So the suffering of the soul, when it loses its identity, imagine a human being losing its identity, how dysfunctional it is. I'm doing a story at the moment. I work in television, and the piece I'm working on is children who come out of they call it closed religions or closed organizations, which are actually sects, kind of dangerous organizations that tend to brainwash. It's delicate because religion is, they feel that sometimes it's a washing of the brain for a good reason, but it's kind of has some kind of implication. And we're watching some children who come out of very specific groups And they're so damaged, and because in the name of that religion, there was abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse. They are being raised, with the idea that this is hell and everybody's bad and you are in the world of Satan. And, they're really trained like this for so many years. So when they come out, they are so damaged, so hurt. And it takes very few can manage to actually heal from that bad education. I know it's a rough idea, but the soul being deprived from its identity, peace, love, happiness, truth, the purity of the soul, then the soul becomes very agitated, and then it does what we see, crazy things. It becomes totally engrossed into physical things, uncontrollable lust, uncontrollable greed, uncontrollable, materialistic possessions, all kind of dysfunctional attitudes. But to us, they look like the soul is suffering. Why? Because it has lost its connection with the self. So it's powerful when we start to think that I, the soul, I'm a being of light. I'm from a world of light, but I'm here in this body. And then my qualities have to come from the soul. So the qualities of the soul are beautiful. Imagine that I was to tell you, okay, now I have something very special for you. We're going to go to the spiritual microwave over there, the room, the meditation room, and the bunker. It's a former safe for the bank. It used to be a vault for the bank. So, and there's something very unique there. There's one soul floating in the middle of that room. It's a divine soul. It's a very, very special soul. It's waiting for us. And when you enter that room, you'll be able to see that soul. It's just floating. It's waiting for us. Can you imagine? How would you enter that room? You'll be breathing the air. Oh, what am I going to see? You'll be anticipating something so... Nobody feels stressed, right? Now the same thing I'm going to tell you, we're going to go there, but I've invited a snake. It's a very big, big snake, actually. It can totally wrap you up, How do you feel entering the room? No, merci. I'll take a rain check, please. So if I direct my mind towards me as Eric, am I sometimes the snake or the lamb or the elephant? I'm playing with those games, but if I say I, the soul, and I visualize that beautiful being of light, what will be the qualities that start to emerge? Naturally, a unique peace. Not just, it's peaceful. No, divine peace. Peace in its in the purest form of peace, which is sacred. It's not the peace that you find in a cemetery, but it's a peace you find in a temple or in a sacred place somewhere. The peace you find in the summit of a mountain, a virgin mountain where nothing is there. The love that you find emerging from the soul is not a human love. It's a spiritual love. It's a divine love. So imagine that instead of saying, well, I'm good in, cooking and I'm a nice person. Instead of saying that, you say, no, my qualities, I hold preciously divine peace, pure love, infinite happiness. These are my qualities. I, the soul. Now we're getting into what's my task? What do I do? Same, if I ask all of you what you're doing, you'll be telling me your job. Oh, I'm looking for a job. I'm, at home. I'm looking after kids. But if I ask the soul, what is your job as a soul? What is the soul doing? It's a very different answer. And the soul can be doing two things. One thing is I'm exploring self-discovery, self-realization. That's what most souls will want to do now. And secondly, I want to bring goodness to the world. I want to be, some of you may be familiar with the word avatar. I want to be an incarnation of godly nature, so I bring something special to the world. It's getting a little bit more and more demanding, what I'm telling you now. To be doctor is already difficult. Now if I have to be a saint, okay, that's even more difficult. But actually it's not, because it's natural. The beauty of all this is if I'm just myself, this is what I will become. So the last answer is, how do I connect with me? What's my connection with myself? So my name, my form, my address, qualities, my role, and my relationship with. Those are the 6 points to know someone. So to know myself means I'm revising those 6 aspects. And the last one is, how do I connect with myself? And again, we've been connecting with ourselves on a very physical level. We've been watching ourselves in the mirror every day. We've been writing our name 1,000,000 times. We've been saying, I am so many pounds. I am so many feet high. I am this. I'm big. I'm small. I'm tall. I'm tired. This was always I, the body, but we use it for I, the soul. So we disconnected the soul from itself. And when people talk about connecting with the self, it's a beautiful sentence, but I'm not sure everybody really knows what they're talking about. How do you really connect with yourself? Then it's a popular concept. It's a big temptation, a seductive idea to say, yeah, connecting with the self. Okay, what do you do really? It's like if you were to have a very special plug and somebody says, well, go and plug it somewhere. Is it, yeah, where does it plug from? And it's nothing to do with these plugs I have here. You wouldn't know where to plug it. And so connecting with the self, first going through those first 5 elements, which means redefining myself and trying to experience the self on that level and seeing, does it make any sense to tell myself I'm a soul living in this body, and I, the soul, am carrying qualities that are incredible, which I haven't seen because I've been putting clothes on all the time. Imagine that you're walking around not just with one set of clothes, but 10 or 20 layers. You wouldn't know even how's the color of your skin, and people wouldn't ask you where you're coming from. Layers. And the soul has been wearing those layers. I'm a woman, I'm Canadian, I'm a mother, I'm a nurse, I'm this, all this I am. They're like all layers. So the soul is completely hidden underneath, and we don't see it anymore. So the ability to, they say we came naked, we have to return naked. That's the slogan they use in some scriptures, which means the soul came without a body and will return without a body. And self-realization is about realizing or rediscovering myself as I truly am and having an experience of it, to be in a state of soul consciousness in the body, which means we don't deny the body and we're going to enjoy it, but with the awareness that I, the soul, live in the body. And if we think that way, then we can go into the depth of the relationship I entertain with myself. Because then this becomes not anymore I, but this becomes mine. So this is my body. So just as an example in terms of how do I relate to who I am, imagine that one person that, try to think of somebody that you admire the most in the world. Your favorite, singer, actor, poet, writer, politician, whoever. Someone that you really feel, okay, this is probably the top of who I admire in the world. And imagine that person coming to your place for 1 week. right? What would you say? Would you let the person cook? He said, no, don't worry. I have everything. I'm going to treat you like no one else has done before. Isn't it? You will want to feed that person, very good food, nice food, not necessarily expensive and everything, but quality food. Now, why would we do that for someone that we admire and not for us? And why would, when that person leaves, you start eating chips and junk food again and feeling no problem about it? No, this body, I can look at it in many different ways. Recently, the new thinking, because we always evolve in our thinking. For me, the new thinking is, this is born from nature. In the same way that you look at this flower, it smells, I don't know if you smell it from where you are, but here it smells very good. I love these flowers. They smell very, very much. They're beautiful. And if you have a big bouquet of those flowers, you look at them and say, oh, so nice. Flowers are so beautiful.
Usually I cannot be in a room with those flowers.
I know.
They always have to remove it from me.
Oh.
I sat down and after 5 minutes I said, oh, the flowers.
Uh-oh.
I don't even smell it to them.
See? Because I'm breathing so much, I'm swallowing up the whole cologne. The magic, the vibration here are taking over.
But it's all good.
That's good, that's
I
good.
take it.
Okay, I won't offer them to you before you leave. But we see these and we say, nature is so wonderful. If you look at, we have hibiscus here in the, where I live. You look at an hibiscus from very, very, very close. Nature is amazing. I'm watching lately the series Planet Earth, or Blue Planet, Planet Earth, Frozen Planet. I think there's a series from the BBC. If you haven't watched any of those, please try to see one of them. At least some episode. They're being aired now everywhere, and BBC, and many are playing it. And they show the world with extremely high quality cameras and tremendously high budgets. So they film for 4 years certain things. So you see it, you see it grow, and it's quite amazing what they have done. And when you see it, when we're talking today about environment and this kind of thing, you watch those things and you feel, hey, can I just send this to all the presidents of the world and say, hey guys, this is a planet we need to protect. Now this is, if you don't get it after watching this, even for me, which is, I'm very, very in love with nature all the time. I wanted to be a vet and help the whales and everything, but I thought I was, I knew who I was in love with nature. But since I've seen this series, it went 10 times more. Blue Planet, Planet Earth, Frozen Planet. It's a whole series from Planet Earth 1, Planet Earth 2, and they announced they would do Planet Earth 3. You really try to watch it. It's the most incredible. It has this National Geographic style, but as I said, it's over 3-4 million per episode, something like that. So they put money into it. But they give us a view of the world as it is. And you watch this nature and you think, I keep thinking, how is that made? How it can be so perfect. The animals, the flowers, the nature is so incredible. And maybe that's what gave me this idea of looking at my body and thinking, oh, this is where you come from. You were made on Earth. Wow, incredible. You are perfect. You are such an incredible engine. And I'm living in it, and I'm using it. And the more we change the connection we have with the body, realizing I'm not this body, but I have to take care of it. And this is a gift from nature. And this is like a flower, this is like a big flower. So what am I going to put into it? What am I going to feed my body? Am I going to treat the body as well as if it was the body of somebody I love? And if I don't treat this body properly, does it mean I don't love me? What's my relationship with me, the tenant of the body? This is just one tiny example. Then if we look at the relationship with the self, asking, how do I talk to myself? Do I encourage myself? Am I a good coach for myself? Do I know how to care for myself? Do I know how to encourage myself when I'm losing hope? Do I have faith in myself? Do I respect myself? This is like every word I just used would really require a long discussion, each one of them. That's what we do on many evenings here. We take self-respect. Okay, self-respect, can talk about it for 10 hours. It's a deep topic. Self-love, self-confidence, self-trust, faith in the self. It's all different. It's a staircase to the self. And ultimately we reach self-dignity. The dignity of the self, which is one of the highest definition of how do I connect with myself, with dignity. It's the most beautiful one. So, now if we were to ask yourself, what's my relationship with myself? And from 0 to 100, how much more we can improve the relationship with the self. And everyone can improve that relationship. And the feeling we will have when we improve that relationship is that, like you were sharing in the beginning, about how great it feels when a relationship is transformed. Imagine the relationship with the self, when we never underestimate the self, when we never disrespect the self, when we never give up hope on the self, when we always see the dignity of the self, when we always feel that love for my own whole self, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Imagine that relationship where we're never annoyed with the self, never stuck in the self, never blinded by everything around making me forget the self. Just imagine. This would be called self-sovereignty. That's what we call Raj Yoga. The yoga connection which regenerates the Raja, the royal, the king. This is the aim that we have. Does it give you a feeling that, yes, let's go to work and let's pull out the little one and create this beautiful relationship with the self? The purest vision of the self is when we see the self in its highest form. When we see not the disease and the complications and the mistakes and the defects of the self, but when I'm able to see the perfect self. If you see somebody who's coughing and has a flu and is, really having fever, he was in bed for the last 3 days, didn't comb his hair, didn't brush his teeth, you might look at the person and say, oh, don't look good today, you really look rough. But knowing the person, you know how they can look like. You know this is temporary. And so when you see them, you say, don't worry, it will go. In a few days you'll be better. And you can keep the vision in yourself of that same person, nicely dressed and in its glorious form. Do we know the same about the self? Do we have a vision of how we look like when this is the highest purity, the highest love that comes from the self, the peace that comes from the self? It's such a beautiful energy that wherever I go, people start to feel peace. That when you walk around and do things, people feel, oh, you're special. You're so nice. Something so, people will look at you like a flower that doesn't give you bad reaction. They will just feel like getting closer to you and say, oh, so nice. I love to be with you. Isn't it? That is happening when we are connecting with the self and we have good relationship with the self. So that's the first step. I invite you to think about it for the next few days. And next Friday we'll look at, okay, now let's move on to, hello, how are you? Who are you? How to connect with other people. How to create harmony in a relationship with others. We can close with unless you have any questions or any thoughts you want to add or reflect on. you're all having to think about, enough to think about for the next few days. This Sunday, actually, if you are interested or you haven't taken the Raja Yoga course, which means like after the meditation course, we do the Raja Yoga course. There's one Sunday, this Sunday and the following Sunday, 1:30 to 4 in English. So with Christine, I think. Right? So, or you can invite others. So let's have a few minutes meditation before we depart, which will be just to save everything in a safe place so we can not forget it as soon as we walk through the door. So moving the attention of my thoughts in the center of the forehead. I pay attention to each and every thought. They are the expression of myself. So I tell myself that I am a soul. Or should I say, I remind myself that I am a soul. There's a beautiful sparkle of light. Because I, the soul, I am not physical, but I'm a spiritual energy. It's a powerful energy of light, spiritual light. And I, the soul, sit in the center of the forehead. Just like a driver sits on a seat to drive the car, this is where I am. And slowly, I'm starting to experience the detachment from my physical body. I can see my body. I can feel it. But I know that I'm different from this physical body. And I'm enjoying the state of being detached. It creates a great sense of lightness, a freedom, the awareness that I came into this body. And one day I will have to leave this physical body. And I'm okay. I just want to regain the awareness of who I am. To answer the eternal riddle. Who am I? And as I become more and more detached from my physical body, I also feel the detachment from the whole world. Not that I'm moving away, but just feeling a little distance. This is the world. This is my body. And I am the being of light, radiating light. And it is I, the soul, who creates the thoughts, the feelings, I can tell to my mind that I want it to become a peaceful and a strong mind. And I'm telling my mind to enjoy the beauty of those peaceful thoughts. And I feel that everything within me becomes peaceful. Even the energy of my body becomes peaceful. Sending peace to myself and to the world. Okay, so we're not fried anymore, we're just peaceful. Friday's over. Anyway, I hope you found something to chew for the next few days and some thoughts to reflect on, some encouragement to move on your own personal exploration of who you are, and let's see what happens next week on the relationship with others. So thanks for being here, and hope to see you next Friday. Storms will be over, so we'll be okay.